But she couldn't even pull off one county. This is amazing. Jake Tapper, shocked when he got the...
So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
Not one county. You know who's loving this right about now? You know who really, really loves this? Joe Biden. I mean, Jake Tapper, he's obviously stunned. I think Jake had a big hand in making sure that Biden was replaced. Don't forget Nate Silver, who's a really, really good pollster. I mean, he had it much tighter, but he at least was predicting that Donald Trump would win the night. Nobody else was willing to go out on that limb. And the guy who's got the keys, right, Alan Lichtman, he was like losing it on television. Or streaming last night. He had to end his streaming show with his head in his hands, and he was just so frustrated. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. I mean, Jake can't quite believe what he's seeing either, because I think the expectation was she was going to recover some ground that Biden had lost, that maybe she would save the Democrat Party in some way, but she couldn't. There's a variety of reasons. I mean, I think they started off really poorly by trying to control the narrative so much that they wouldn't let her do any interviews. She wasn't that seasoned in terms of doing interviews, in part because the Biden White House is so controlled. And so they don't let him out there. They wouldn't let her out there earlier. So they didn't kind of get her used to the rough and tough nature, the give and take. They were always worried that some comment would go viral. I mean, it's the world in which we live. I am a big believer, you know that typically more speech can correct bad speech, right? So you want that opportunity to just be out there and talking and get your message out. But she ignored that. Donald Trump would talk to everyone. Kamala Harris, in the beginning anyway, wouldn't talk to anyone. And then finally she came through and was like, okay, I'll do this podcast or that podcast with my friends. And everything was so tightly wound, so tightly scripted. So I think Americans didn't really feel like they knew her. They didn't feel like she had a fluency in policy the way Donald Trump does, certainly. I mean, he's been talking about this stuff for decades. And they knew that inflation was that bad. So with inflation being what it is, why would they sign up for Kamala Harris, who was just going to give them more of the same? I mean, they laid it up. They teed it right up for her on The View. Do you remember when she went on The View? And she said that she wasn't going to change anything. There's nothing that she would go back in time and change. They said, would you do anything different? And she said, no, I really wouldn't. Well, why would anybody pick you then, lady? I mean, they needed to primary him. They really, really needed to primary him